Real estate is about freedom, choice freedom, time freedom, and money freedom, and the impact you can make with that freedom. But it doesn't come without cost. Your freedom takes work. That's why Neil Timmins brings together the tools you need to build your real estate legacy, from tips and tricks to interviews with industry titans. It's all here in one place. Real Grit. Let's get to it.
What if I told you can make 20 times the return of a single family fix and flip on your next big deal? Well, it's actually possible. It's possible inside the world of commercial real estate. Say, I'm inviting you to this free challenge. It starts August 15th. It's totally free. It's a 5-day challenge where I'm going to take you and deep dive into the world of commercial real estate, more specifically, capital multiplier properties, what that is, how we identify them. I'm going to show you how to identify them, how to evaluate them, and how to lock them up risk-free. I'm going to give you all the paperwork to do it. It's totally free. You can sign up to join us at www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. That's www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. And I'll see you in the challenge. Today's episode, I got Chris Prefontaine. Hey, no need to set this on fast forward or listen to it quick. He's from the Northeast. He speaks quick. It is a really good conversation about how he went through the crash in 2008, being, for lack of a better term, down and out, how he's able to pick himself up, put together a massive controlling portfolio of real estate, totaling nearly $100 million. It's a really good conversation. We're going to be talking all about creative financing. Chris Prefontaine coming right up. Welcome to the Real Grit. I got Chris Prefontaine here with me. I'm excited to have him here. Chris, how are you?
I am awesome. Thanks, Neil. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Say, we all got started someplace in real estate. What was your first entry point into this industry?
I'm going to date myself just slightly here, Neil, but 1991 was my first deal. It was actually a split level house sitting on the golf course with some excess land that we were able to subdivide. That was my first deal ever.
Did you fix and flip the house? Is that what it was? Or you just
we kept the house.
Okay.
We subdivided the land. We were able to put a duplex on it. And then we were able to condoize with what they call zero lot line, the two units. So we just sold off the 2 units. And that was where my kind of love for land always was. And that was a neat first deal.
And walk me forward. What were the 90s like for you? Did you get in all straight away, or did you kind of have half a foot in or toe in, if you will, and then a W-2? What'd that look like?
Yeah, I grew up in a family business my entire life, and it wasn't real estate. It was a welding supply and industrial gas business, believe it or not. Totally different. Yeah. But my dad would build brick and mortar buildings and then lease them back to himself. When I was younger, I didn't get that, but it was cool now in hindsight. And so I was around him and his friends who kind of tinkered in real estate. Yep. And then, so I did that deal while I was still working for him. He sold his company in like end of 90. And I literally lasted, they made me a GM and I lasted about 2.5 weeks and they fired me. My kids were 2 and 3. Like they literally fired me. I called my father. I said, "Hey Dad, they fired me." He said, "They what? I thought you were all set up. Like what happened?" So I guess I wasn't a good employee. And then I had no choice. I had kids 2 and 3 and I had no money. Literally, I think they gave me a car, my car paid off and a severance of like a month. And then I had to make my own ramp to real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as you entered then and to make your own ramp, what was your focus there? What segment of this business? Because we can all do a lot of things to make money in this business.
I agree. So many cool niches. Yeah. This is another story that's going to date me. I don't know if you remember Earl Nightingale way back when, but I was listening to a cassette tape when driving, and Earl told the story about a gentleman from the Depression who, it was the Depression. So he went around to people that weren't selling land and he asked them for permission to put his sign on their lot to sell their land. So I thought, okay, that's cool. So I took that one step further. I did the exact same thing, but then I teamed up with a builder and I said, if I have this land, will you package a house on it and I'll sell the package? And then the landowner will get their money. But I made everybody wait. Subcontractors, landowner, everybody, till the house was built, sold, and closed at the end, and then everybody got paid. And that was our foray into that business. I never built a home in my life. We built like 20-something homes that first year, 50-something the next year, and did that until about 94-ish.
Wow. All right. So you go in and you find these vacant lots, right? Just people with excess ground, and then go in and put this whole package together. Ultimately is, from a quasi developer standpoint, right?
Well, and I was so naive. I think back to, it's cool when you're in your 20s because I was so naive. Yeah. I just went to people, including the lumber supplier, and said, look, I'm going to buy this and you're going to give me all the supplies. At the very end, I'll pay you. And I remember some of them like chuckling at me, but they all did it because the market wasn't great then. And I don't know if I would do that today. Like that's a ballsy move, but I was in my 20s,
It's amazing what one can get away with when you just ask these things. When you don't know what you don't know. And today, as you get older, you get more seasoned. We know what we don't know. And some of that really is a belief system more than anything.
100%.
Right?
I couldn't agree more. That's a good example.
Yeah. I love the cassette tapes. I still remember listening to cassette tapes in the car. Yeah. Really, really good stuff. All right. So that's interesting. And then you morphed up. Bring me forward then. Maybe to a little more current. So let's say the last decade. And maybe how about let's go to a segment in time. The downturn, 2008, 2009 comes around. What did it look like for you then?
Yeah, I had sold my brokerage because I had a brokerage in between all that I bought, and sold to Coldwell Banker in 2000. And that kind of ran me up to the crash. And I had, 20 some odd properties of my own then, commercial, condominium conversions, things in progress. And when that hit, I remember, Neil, like literally like it was yesterday, February of 2008, like a light switch got thrown and I was done because the projects went from 1/3 to 2/3 down. One project here in Providence, Rhode Island went down 2/3. I had 2 units sold out of 6. I was selling them for 175, 172, like hotcakes. I couldn't give it away for $52,000 a few weeks later. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. So it took 4 years mentally and financially to work out of that crash. So it went till about 2012, February, literally almost month to month, February to February. Yeah. In hindsight, that was all mental. Just I thought it was my fault. I got my own way and I just couldn't get out of it.
Wow. That 4-year time period call it a lull. How did you manage to survive day to day? Well,
I moved, you got to throw some salt in the wound here. This is good. I moved from a 2.5 acre lot house with outbuildings and everything overlooking Newport Harbor, which is rare, to a 900 square foot 1-bedroom apartment with my wife. So my payments went from $25,000 a month to $925 a month. And that enabled me to rebuild my life, get the steamroller from chasing me and, literally rebuild everything. And what a refreshing thing. But when my wife told me we were going to do this, my ego said, okay, I'll do it for 6 months. We lived there for 6 years and built what I built today by doing that.
Wow. Well, I want to get a number correction just to make sure I got it right. What was it cost you? The big house, what did it cost you per month?
$25,000 or so just for the mortgage.
A month?
Yeah.
25 G's? You're not saying 2,500. You're saying 25 G's.
$25,000 a month. I can't forget it. Trust me.
No, that's why I had to come back to it because I was like, did he just say $25,000? Yeah. All right. I got it. Real big money.
I wouldn't do that today and I don't have debt.
Yeah. All right. So past dollars and cents and how you chipped away out of it financially. Yeah. How did you mentally survive it?
It was brutal. It's almost like I was in a zone because if I think back and try to remember the steps, it wasn't conscious. I just beat the crap out of myself. It's my fault. And I remember he wasn't even a mentor. He's just someone that I looked up to. And I wrote about him in my book because of what he said. He said, Chris, look, he said it very aggressively. He said, you didn't take the freaking market down. Okay. So you need to get out of your own way. And he said this like 2.5, 3 years into it. I wish I caught him day one. Yeah. And he said, I was crying about, I got to pay this person back. He said, look, pick up the phone, call the people you're concerned about, tell them if it takes you 10 years, you'll do it, but you'll get back in good stead with them. So I did that and he got me off my ass and let me dig out. And so by February of 12, I just started like literally ripping it apart, getting the whiteboard up again, getting back into real estate and re-engineering how I do real estate.
Yeah. So let's talk about the last decade. We've been on the greatest tear in real estate history, the highest of all highs. What's the last, 10 years look like for you?
Yeah. So in 2012, we launched sort of like a set of rules that we'll operate by. And that was in no particular order. Do not sign on personal bank debt. Just don't sign personally and you won't get into that crap again. And then buying, do not borrow money from private or banks. So we're going to buy everything creative real estate, which is lease purchase, owner financing, subject to purchasing. And that's it. And so from that day till today, including personal stuff that I do, no banks whatsoever. So we control about 100 million in real estate any one time, 80 to 100. And there's anywhere between $10 and $2,500 for a deposit. That's max and that's rare. And that, let me tell you, putting my head on the pillow now compared to back in 2008, it's a different ballgame because I never worry about that.
Yeah, no, incredible. Well, give me, some. Let's go down this, buying creatively, for lack of a better word. Kind of a whole bunch of things get housed under those words, those terms, right? How do you find people? How do you have a conversation with somebody? And then, when you lock something up in a creative fashion, what do you do on the backside?
Yeah, so this is by far one piece of that you asked is awesome because it's by far the biggest question we get. People say in every market, they'll say to me, well, how do you convince sellers to do that? How do you convince them to have no money down or do owner financing? Here's the deal. We sort of fish in the same pond a lot of investors do. We're just looking for something different. We're not looking to get a purchase price of 60 or 70 cents on the dollar. Yep. We actually will pay market if we get our term. So all we're doing is looking for one of two things, and they're opposite ends of the spectrum. One, someone that needs financial relief and they have a problem that needs fixing. Opposite end of the spectrum, someone that's free and clear, they're debt free, but the market's not letting them accomplish their goal otherwise if they sell it conventional. A great example, I'm sitting today at home, but 5 minutes down the road is my office building. I bought it in 2018, and I bought it from an owner who owed zero on it and actually wanted owner financing to accomplish his goals. And the realtors just didn't get it. They're all shooting him offers. He didn't want offers. Right. He wanted to do a 20-year deal for estate planning and tax reasons. So we're always looking to solve problems or help people accomplish a goal they couldn't otherwise accomplish. So that's with for sale by owners, that's with expireds, and that's with free and clear owners. We seek them out. A third of the properties, Neil, in U.S., and I don't know about Canada because I operate there, but about a third in U.S., they're free and clear. It's Correct. A great pond to fish in right now.
I think a lot of people don't, so many people from the call it traditional real estate investment, they're looking for motivated sellers, right? People with a need, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You wouldn't realize that a third of all homeowners in this country have their property paid off.
Absolutely. And they're great to deal with. People say, oh, they hard to deal. No, they're intelligent conversations. I remember sitting in the office, which is now my office today, with this gentleman. And he said, Chris, I love math. I love this stuff. Like he was intrigued by it.
Right. Yeah, no, they get into it and become a little savvier. That doesn't mean they're necessarily hard to deal with. Right. It necessarily means it's just an elevated conversation that one has. Fair to say.
Yeah, we do. I should throw this twist in. So when we're doing free and clear, 99% of the time we do zero to little money down. And if we do no money down, we have to pay transfer tax. You can't expect them to come out of pocket. But more importantly, we make monthly principal only payments. Super key because the super recession hedge. I don't care what the market's doing. If I've got principal only payments going down every month for several years, that's major pounding down of principal.
And then when you're locking these things up, what kind of terms are maybe on average are you ended up being able to put in place?
My building is 20 years. I'm like 5 or 6 years in, whatever it is. But your typical residential house, which is why I teach students, right? Because they start there. Yep. Usually I won't do owner financing under 48 months, Neil, because that's too tight to exit, which we'll talk about in a minute. And lately we've been pushing with the students to go 10 years, 7 and 10, because if I go 7 or 10, I just mitigated a whole crap load of risk, right? I don't care what the market does in between there. So that's what we've been pushing with the community.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's cool. All right. So let's talk about the exit. You get a property, you lock it up, and you get this killer financing term situation. What do you do?
Okay, so we start anyway with a rent to own. Mm-hmm. And there's a big caveat here I want to scream about, and that is, and we can get deeper or I can keep it basic, but that is, I can go on podcast after podcast and look at people in my space saying in the rent to own world, don't worry about if the buyer's qualified, just stick them in a house. And if they don't, get qualified, you do it again, you get another check. It's just bogus. It's morally and ethically bogus. So my son, Nick, is our buyer specialist. And when we put a rent-to-own client in a home, they have been vetted. They have gone through a mortgage officer. They have gone through a credit company. And we know if we accept them, there's a mortgage ready plan that's going to fit inside of the terms I have with my seller, or they ain't getting in. Now, even though we're super strict on that, there's about a 2 to 5% default rate still, which is super good still. And it's better than most government programs. 2 to 5%, just because life happens, death happens, divorce, COVID, it happens. Yep. But by and large, we get these things cashed out with the exception of 2 to 5%. That's inverse relationship to what most people do in the industry. And then when I said most of them start like that, here's why. Some, if we have long terms, like we have a sub-2 house or a long-term owner financing house, we don't care about the term. I'll say to the buyer, hey, after you get through your first year and you haven't had any missed payments and you get your deposit up to 20%, we will consider owner financing you for long term. And they love it because they don't have to go through underwriting and everything else, which is my passion. Part of the reason we started this, my wife said to me after all the crap we went through, she said, why don't you help other people do this? And that's sort of what started this back in 2012.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got them, the rent to own plan. That's different than a lease option.
It's different in that they don't have it's a set buy plan. And if they walk away, they lose their down payment. It's not an option. They're buying it on or before this date.
On or before that date. Okay. Got it. All right. That makes sense. I like what you've done to be able to mitigate the risk associated with a buyer, this tenant, not buying the property, because I agree with your assessment that I hear it a lot to go, oh, you just stick anybody in and they'll just buy it, or you just do it again. And the challenge with just do it again means the house looks like absolute crap.
Yeah. You put the wrong person in.
You put the wrong person in, and you now have all the money that they gave you, in many cases, 10, 15, 20 grand's gone because you got to go rehab this thing.
Yeah.
In some cases, more. Right.
Yeah. And the opposite is so true. Like, I can give you such cool stories. And I do a couple of them in my IRA, so I'm picky with who I put in there. But you go to the house, there's a new deck, there's a new roof, because they've done it the way you set up to be, which is they're an owner, they just don't have a loan yet.
Correct. Yeah. When you put that in place and you've got a defined period of time for them to close on this as the rent to own program, how many years out, how many months out is that?
Yeah. So regardless of our term, this is a good question. Say I have, say I have a 6-year term of the seller. I might get the report back from the credit agency that says, hey, I spoke with Neil, your buyer, and he's going to be credit worthy and mortgage ready within 24 months. I say, great. I said, Neil, look, I'm not going to have my finger on your back. I have time here, but they say you're going to be ready in 24. So I'm going to give you like a 30 month rent own agreement. It puts the onus on them to kind of stay in check and gives them a little buffer. And then if they get to the end and they've been phenomenal, I'll just extend it. If they've been a pain in the butt, it's my option to either go up on price or not renew. I have the leeway there. So typically they're pretty short as far as what the agency says they can do.
Give me some numbers. Wrap me in an example here. A deal's call it $100,000. You're buying it from the seller on $100,000, no money down, your principal only payments, et cetera, et cetera. Now wrap me on the buyer. What does that buyer's terms look like? What does a rent look like?
Yeah. So typically a buyer is going to have that, like whatever they were qualified for, plus that buffer I said as far as their term. As far as their monthly, we don't take the property on unless we think their monthly is going to be about what their eventual mortgage will be, or maybe slightly higher on our end, because I want them to have incentive to get their mortgage.
Yes.
Right? If I'm ridiculously low, they're going to be like, oh, I'm fat and comfortable. I'll wait till the very last minute.
Right.
So that's how we price them ahead of time. It's got to work before I do it. Now, what's cool for the investor, Neil, is we've trademarked this federally in the U.S. anyway, and that is we have 3 paydays. So the buyer comes in. Remember, they're a true buyer. They just didn't know they needed time, so they come up with a down payment. That's payday 1. Payday 2 is the spread between what I'm paying the seller or their underlying debt directly and what I'm collecting from the buyer. That's payday 2. And payday 3 is all the principal pay down throughout the term plus my markup. And those 3 paydays for us average for our family team around $75,000. But we're sort of on the low end. Our students go anywhere from like $45,000 to $250,000 in the higher end markets.
Yeah.
Which is killer for a deal. It's
incredible. Yeah. Looking forward, when we're recording this first week of 23, we're in bumpy times. Last year, interest rates have doubled. Things look very different from 21. When you, with your strategy moving forward into let's call it a bumpy market, maybe a down market even, how do you think this plays out?
I have never been more excited and happier than this market in my 31 years. Here's why. And this could be a whole other show, but whenever there's chaos, uncertainty, confusion, that's when creative real estate thrives. Like, it becomes a no-brainer because people need us. It's when it got crazy hot during COVID, like crazy hot. Not at the beginning. At the beginning, they needed us. Our properties went through the roof. Right. But then, as you know, when things got like anything would sell, we had to talk to like double the sellers to find those people, right?
Yeah.
So this is phenomenal. The next, I think 3 to 5 years, maybe I'm a little aggressive on the length there, but at least 3 years where people need us badly. You've got the third time in 50 years that we have an affordability problem, and we don't know if we're at the end of the interest rate issue yet. So could get a little harder. We just the economy kicked, hundreds of thousands of buyers to the street by what they did in the last 9 months.
Right.
Well, they need our help. They're not bad buyers. Now they need more time. Sadly, they thought they were going to buy 9 months ago, and their family just got pushed to the side if they were borderline,
Yep.
And that means all those sellers too. So we have it's neat. Our community is like a microcosm of society. So all I got to do is listen each week to the conference call and know what's going on.
Yep.
And they're all screaming that, hey, Chris, 9 months ago, I have all these sellers calling me back that were cocky and thought they were going to sell.
Right.
And they're just coming to the woodwork. And these are on some properties with underlying interest rates of like 2 and 3%. That's pretty cool over the next few years.
That is very cool. All right. Talk to me about, you obviously help people do this, break into this, get a deeper understanding and put their business in place. Tell me a little about what you do there.
Sure. So the difference with our model here is this. I know I'm kind of poo-pooing people again when I talk about other people in the industry, but the fact is there are some really good marketers, okay, in real estate, and you buy their stuff because they're marketed well. We suck at marketing, but what we will do is we do deals with people. So they go through a basic course of ours. They can go off and do deals on their own, great. Or they can say, I want to get more aggressive, or I want you on my shoulder, I want you in my court. We lock arms and we actually revenue share and partner on deals with people all over North America, mostly US. And there's this revenue share for only a certain period of time because it's like an on-ramp for them to learn it. I just don't think there's any better way to learn than that interactive coaching learning. Like Chris, I got a seller saying this, can you get on the phone with me right now? Like that's how you learn quickly. We critique calls live, things like that, really speed the learning curve up. That's the big difference with what we do. No,
that's pretty cool. Let's do this. I want to move on to the final thing, what I call 4-4 impact. What's your favorite quote, Chris?
It has always been, and I might butcher it, but it has always been that old Calvin Coolidge quote, nothing in the world will take the place of persistence, talent, genius, education, because the world's full of educated derelicts. I just love the ending of it. I know I butchered the middle somewhere, but it's all about persistence.
Yeah. What do you think holds most investors back from hitting their personal next level?
Great question. 2 things for sure. One, mismanaged expectations because of the marketers and the late night TV. Hey, I can make $1 million tomorrow. No, you can't. There's a long learning curve, but it's better than anything once you get there. So number one is mismanaged expectations. And second is entering, I guess it's one and the same, because entering into a niche or with a group or a mentor, and then too quickly moving for the next shiny object. So that does go along with managed expectations. But man, oh man, if you just give this 3 to 7 years in any one of the niches, you started the show saying, hey, there's a lot of cool niches out there. I agree. Pick one and don't deviate for 3 to 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of real estate, what are you most passionate about?
This is age related too. I mean, I'm going to be 57 next month. My wife and I have 2 grandkids. We're building a 30-year dream house right now up in the mountains. And it's all about creating experiences. So the way I phrase it is, earn enough money, create enough wealth to do the things that wealth and money can't buy. And that's create amazing experiences. Yeah. And that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I love that. What's your favorite way to make an impact in the community?
Right now, it has been bringing people to the point where they can escape their W-2. Yeah. It's just a passion of ours. Like, get the heck away from your job unless you love it. God love you. But the rest of you that don't, that's our passion right now.
Yeah. For people, they want to find you, they want to follow you, they want to connect with you, they want to learn more about coaching and partnering. Where can they go? What should they do?
We set up that link for you guys for the book. You can either put it in the show notes or I can throw it out there. But it's basically our best-selling book, and this doesn't cost you 10 cents. It's not one of those free offers that says, "But put this in for shipping." You're going to get a hard copy book from us just from listening to the show. You can go over to wickedsmartbooks.com/grit. And then I know you're going to add there somewhere a free class we have. It's called Master's Class. If you can deal with me going fast from New England for an hour, I give you a free class. it's going to at least let you, like, I'm big on free, Neil, because I want them to go, okay, that's a niche I can get behind, or no, it's not. And I didn't spend any money to do it. Yep. And so come hang out with me for an hour and you'll enjoy it.
No, that's terrific. And that leads me to my next piece is the Real Grit Vault. And that's your contribution to the Vault is that masterclass. And anybody can find that there. I'm going to put the link to the book also in the Vault as well. So that way you guys can get your free hard copy book. www.realgritvault.com, and we'll make sure we get all the details put in there. Appreciate that contribution, Chris.
That's awesome.
I think that's terrific. You know what? Hey, what I love about you is I like listening to all these things, all of my podcasts on like 1.5 speed. You play at 1.5 speed without a fast forward button. That's how I normally play, which every time I go to log on, somebody tells me you got to slow down. So
I've been told that before, that they don't have to speed mine up.
Yeah. No, I love that. Chris, I really appreciate you taking the time to connect on here. You've got an amazing story about grit, and I know that's a big word in your world too, about how you've come through, how you stumbled into this industry, and then how you made it through the 2008 era, and you know what's Tony Robbins probably said about a lot of people. You know, life doesn't happen to us; it happens for us.
Yeah,
you right. You took that in 2012, figured out all these things that you're going to do differently moving forward, and now control a tremendous amount of real estate and making a deep impact in the lives of others, showing them how to do it. It's pretty incredible.
Thanks, my man.
I appreciate you having on. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. For everybody here, Real Grit, I'm Neil Timmins, reminding you that real estate requires real grit. See you next time. What if I told you can make 20 times the return of a single family fix and flip on your next big deal? Well, it's actually possible. It's possible inside the world of commercial real estate. Say, I'm inviting you to this free challenge. It starts August 15th. It's totally free. It's a 5-day challenge where I'm going to take you and deep dive into the world of commercial real estate, more specifically capital multiplier properties, what that is, how we identify them. I'm going to show you how to identify them, how to evaluate them, and how to lock them up risk-free. I'm going to give you all the paperwork to do it. It's totally free. You can sign up to join us at www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. That's www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. And I'll see you in the challenge. If you like our content and want more, you can access it at realgritpodcast.com. You hear it guest after guest. Instinctively, you already know it. But let me call it out. The most expensive action is inaction. The real estate market is full of opportunities. You just need to uncover them. You can build a business that lasts for years, makes monumental impact in the lives of those that you love. It's not just about business, but about the freedom you get because of it. Have you ever heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I believe that partnering is essential. In fact, I partner with hardworking investors all the time. The point is that you can get a lot further with the right partner. Let me say it again, the right partner. If you've ever thought about partnering with anyone, or if you have a partner now, I encourage you to download my free Partner and Profit Guide, which includes the top 5 must-answer questions to evaluate a profitable partnership. You can find it at www.legacyimpactpartners.com. I'll see you in the next episode.